Hello, everyone. We're joined today by Mayor Sumbal Siddiqui from the city of Cambridge in Massachusetts. She's the first mayor of Cambridge. Mayor Siddiqui, you launched your guaranteed income pilot initiative in April 2021, is that right?
Yeah, we launched it, we began organizing it really around that winter and spring, but I joined this coalition called the Mayors for Guaranteed Income almost last October. And so I learned, I knew about this mayors group doing this type of work. It piqued my interest, and then I joined it. And then in Cambridge, we came up with a group of key stakeholders and nonprofits to really work on what a pilot would look like.
Now, your scheme is $500 monthly, no strings attached, but it's dedicated to single caretakers, as you call it. Is that right?
Yeah, single caretakers. So I can be a single mother, a single father, I could be a grandparent. We wanted to focus on a particular group, and that's the thing about guaranteed income versus universal income. Universal income is for everyone. A guaranteed income is really looking at a specific population. All the different pilots, some pilots are, looking at foster kids. They're looking at art, those who are artists. Some are looking at unhoused population. We saw in our data, and we worked closely with our community foundation, who had issued a report on equity in Cambridge and how it had changed. So we looked at that report. It was called the Equity and Innovation Report, and it showed that we're probably one of the ranking innovation capitals, top ranking innovation capitals in the country, in the world. But we also have some extreme poverty, and we have this rising wealth, racial divide that is increasingly problematic. And so we saw that those who are at the lowest end of the spectrum were our single caretaker households. And so we wanted to do something to help these households who, were facing more challenges than others. And I saw it firsthand. In the beginning of the pandemic, I relaunched this disaster relief fund, the Mayor's Disaster Relief Fund, for COVID relief. And we saw who was applying to get these funds. I saw who was calling my office for concerns and needs. And so it really was this population. So we wanted to focus on our single caretakers, who now 130 of whom will receive $500 monthly for 18 months. And that first disbursement went out September 7th.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, we will come on to what you hope the results will be. But when you think of a city like Cambridge, you think of it being a very wealthy place. It's not dissimilar to Bristol in a way, where we're from, which is, a very wealthy city, but with, shocking levels of deprivation and poverty and inequality and so on. And you have those problems in Cambridge as well, aren't you? Which is some of the things you're trying to address here.
Yeah, we have a huge divide here. The families who maybe earn the highest on average, could be making, $300K, while some of the lowest maybe a year, maybe making $13,000 a year, right? And so that is this big divide. And so and we see it by race. And so I think that is something we have to pay attention to. And the pandemic really made things worse. And so I think it exacerbated already really fragile, stability that families had. And so, as a city, we often say we're the tale of two cities, right? We have MIT, we have Harvard, we have this innovation mecca, and then we have extreme poverty, and we're trying to keep people in the city, and it's my hometown, so I've seen how it's really changed with the ongoing gentrification, the escalating housing costs, and these disparities in education, wealth, and access to opportunity. There's all these trends that have been really accelerating since the recession in 2008, but really even so since the pandemic.
Now you have an interesting set of, I mean, from what I understand when I've talked to people in the Mayors for Guaranteed Income and looked at the research and so on, each is different in a way, and obviously they're from different places, and that's what makes these pilots actually incredibly exciting, I must say. But you've managed to create an incredible coalition behind this in terms of bringing together the partners. Now, are they funding the pilot, these partners?
Sure. So we were able to receive $500,000 from just the Mayors for Guaranteed Income group. And that was really contingent on a few things, but making sure that in Cambridge we could get at least money to match and more money for the pilot. So in that vein, we partnered with Cambridge Community Foundation, and we partnered with the Cambridge Economic Opportunity Committee, our Housing Authority, and a number of other nonprofits. And honestly, it was a good deal of fundraising. The Cambridge Community Foundation went out to many of the different companies that we have in our city. We went to our universities, for example, to fund this. We went to different foundations. We went to different, life science care companies. And then there are a number of individual donors as well. None of the funding that is going directly to the families is coming from the city. The city is funding the all the program, some costs related to the program manager. So, and that's because of these rules that some of the cities who are doing these pilots have. And that's why we want to build a body of evidence to show that there should be a federal guaranteed income and that cities and budgets should pay for this. In Cambridge, this has been mostly privately funded, with the exception of some monies from the city that will go to the cost that there won't be going any monies that won't be going directly to families. The city said they'd help with. So really a combination of different funders, but it all came together really quickly, and there was a lot of momentum. A lot of people were excited about this and wanted to do something about this, and so that's why it wasn't terribly difficult to raise this money, but it's something that we'll have to have long-term solutions for. We can't keep relying on kind of the private market to be doing that.
Now, with the Stockton experiment, of course, has been running longer than yours, and there's been an initial report come out, which is very encouraging, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we were really pleased to see how in Stockton, what the results showed, right? It kind of showed us that, people who were getting a guaranteed income reported, better mental health, reported more economic gains and, future employment. So these are all the things that we hope our pilot will show too. We want to look at the well-being of the child. We want to see how these single caretakers, how this money impacts them. And so I think the goal is that we will be amassing this body of evidence from all the pilots that kind of will show how a guaranteed income could be this policy anecdote to poverty and rising wealth and income inequality.
Now, one of the aims you have are to do that, of course, and for the people of Cambridge, but also to be an advocate for this programme nationally. What kind of reaction have you had from national politicians to this? How's the whole movement going, do you think?
I think in Massachusetts, I'm definitely the first mayor who is doing this, so that's been exciting. And I have individuals who reached out to talk about their excitement. We do have a city manager in Chelsea who did a similar pilot called Kelsey Eats. It's a little different, but I think that and our pilot Cambridge Rise, reoccurring income for success and empowerment, has sparked, definitely more interest the last many months. And there's been cities and organizations who reached out and said, how did you do it? What are your tips? And I think in the country, more and more mayors are jumping on board and launching pilots. So it's really exciting to see. I think some are, deeper into their pilots, and right now it's about 57 mayors who've expressed interest in doing a guaranteed income pilot.
I mean, when we did our event last year, there certainly weren't 57 mayors on the list then. I mean, it was kind of surprising, but very encouraging to see how fast this has grown over that period of just 12 months, really.
Yeah.
Now, just on the scheme itself, people had to apply, did they, to join the scheme, or did you go out and find them?
So we had a application process. You had to meet 3 eligibility requirements at the time of application. You had to be a resident of Cambridge, and your income had to fall below 80% the area median income for your household size, and you had to be a single caretaker of at least one child under the age of 18. So, you had to have all 3 of those things. And so we did an outreach campaign. We did some mailings. We did door-to-door outreach, flyers. I think there was a lot of lessons learned in outreach that I think all of us, more is better. But we had an application process and a period where individuals could fill out a survey. And the survey is it's basic in that it's a survey that most other pilots also have, because for the data and our research partner, we wanted to be very consistent. And so there's not much we could change on the survey, but the survey was open for a certain period of time, for about a week. And after that, the research partners did a random lottery to select 130 single caretakers. There were moments where some of the folks who initially were in the lottery, we never heard back from. And so then there was a replacement list, and on and on. So that was really our summer. It was the June, July period of making sure that we were onboarding the individuals who were accepted, and then those who we couldn't get a hold of, getting new replacements to fit that 130 number. And thankfully, we're up until like September, the first week of September, we were able to get all 130 and get the program started.
Now, with this is a guaranteed income. This is something which we're exploring universal basic income as part of our day. Now, this isn't a universal system, but do you have a view on issue between guaranteed income and universality?
I think I'm in favor of a universal basic income, and I see the need for helping those who may not have as much. And I think that's where, I guess, the guaranteed income, this $500 a month, is going to mean more to a single caretaker than, I think, or mean more when I say it will go further for a single caretaker than it would maybe for a family of, a 2-household family. So, I think there's a value in that. And I think, as a policy matter, helping our single caretakers not be in poverty and, see how they can rise up and have some economic mobility is really important. And I think that just wouldn't be the same for someone who is, you know, in a household already, perhaps with, you know, with two people. So we see that in our data, and so that's how I feel about it. I think in the end of the day, though, I think it's really cash is cash, and having an income, the more we can do, the better.
Because one of the fears and one of the criticisms of a scheme like this is you're giving money away. You know, you have no control over how it's spent and so on. But all the evidence from what I've read in terms of things like Stockton and elsewhere is that this is incredibly valuable to people who will spend it on what they need, really.
Yeah, we have to trust people, and you know, for the most part, it's folks who are spending money on things for their kids. You know, when we last few weeks we were getting this together, you know, there are, you know, single caretakers who are like, oh, you know, I'm really would like to do some extra back to school shopping, and you know, so we knew what they were spending it on, right? And like, we want them to have we want to give the cash so that there is this it should be no strings attached, because you know, families know best what they need for their for their families. And so there is that kind of criticism and these things that are said, but for the most part, it really isn't true and backed by the actual reality. So yeah, I'm very much in favor, and we honestly in Cambridge received a huge reception to it. You know, they were like, finally, we're doing this. It was more like, why did it take so long to do something as innovative and creative like this?
Now, you're in the early stages of this project, and by the time you're complete, along with the other guaranteed income pilots, you'll have a strong body of evidence. How are you evaluating this? How are you measuring this? Have you got people working on this right now?
Yeah, we have the Center for Guaranteed Income Research out of University of Pennsylvania that is actually evaluating all the pilots in the Mayors for Guaranteed Income. And so these researchers, you know, they did everything from run the lottery to now and help us, you know, with the kind of the survey instrument and so forth. And now they will be a close research partner in evaluating our surveys that will come out every 6 months that our single caretaker families will take. So there's going to be, they're going to be doing that for every single pilot. Now,
final question, you're on the way with this. 2 years time, you'll have some body events. Where do you think you'll be in 10 years time with this whole program?
Honestly, my hope is that we'll have something from the city budget, definitely the federal budget, but even in the city, that will have some kind of guaranteed income for individuals. I think right now in our city, it's very hard to give out money and taxpayer money. There's all these rules, an anti-aid amendment, and I really want that to change. I want that to change because I've seen that we do have the resources, especially in a wealthy city like Cambridge, to help people. And so I think in 10 years, I'd love this to actually be a program that will be consistently funded, and we would have permanent funding for, definitely on the federal level, but you know, on the you know, state and city level as well.
Well, it's fantastic to see such passionate politicians leading initiatives like this, and with such a strong evidence base and with such strong commitment to making change happen and to achieving the kind of justice for people that is so necessary. We're watching with great interest. We're very grateful for you joining us today, and we look forward to hearing more in the future. Mayor Siddiqui, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.